I'm Ethan, 32. My wife Maya, 35, and I have been married for 5 years, together for 8. We live about 40 minutes from where I grew up, in a small town outside Madison, Wisconsin, in a two-bedroom house that still smells like fresh paint in the hallway because we keep meaning to repaint and never have the time. We're not rich. We're not struggling either. I'm a project manager at a mid-sized construction company. Maya works as a nurse, 12-hour shifts, shoes that somehow always squeak in the hallway at 2 a.m., and a laugh that makes even bad days feel like they have an exit door. My family has always liked to describe itself as close. We did Sunday dinners at my parents' house when I was growing up, even when it meant eating casserole I didn't like, and listening to my dad tell the same story about the time he fell off a ladder and almost died. He sprained his ankle. My mom, Linda, 58F, is the type of woman who sends, "Good morning," texts with 3 emojis, and believes family problems should be solved by talking louder. My dad, Greg, 60M, is quieter. He's always been the keep the peace guy, the one who never raises his voice but makes sure the bills are paid, the lawn is mowed, and nobody talks about things that make the room uncomfortable. I have a younger sister, Alyssa, 29F, who my mom calls her baby, even though Alyssa has a grown-up job and a condo and a hybrid SUV. Then there's my older brother, Ryan, 35 mem. Ryan was the kind of kid who made teachers smile without trying. Star athlete, scholarships, the one who could say, "Yeah, I'll help," and somehow make you feel like you'd inconvenienced him just by existing. He's not evil. He's not a monster. He's something more complicated. Someone who learned early that he could bend the atmosphere of a room until it served him. When Maya first met my family, she tried. She really did. She offered to bring desserts to dinners. She asked my mom about her garden. She laughed at my dad's ladder story. She let Ryan hug her a beat too long at the wedding without making it weird. And my family, to their credit, didn't do the obvious toxic things you read about online. Nobody insulted her to her face. Nobody forbade me from marrying her. They just treated her like a guest who overstayed. The little things you can't call out without sounding dramatic. My mom would say, "Oh, honey, you didn't have to do all that," when Maya cleaned up after dinner, but she'd never say it to Alyssa. My dad would ask me about work and then ask Ryan about work like Ryan's answer mattered more. And Ryan would give Maya compliments that sounded kind, but had a sharp edge if you listened closely. "You look great," he'd say. "You're really lucky Ethan found someone like you." As if Maya was a prize my family graciously allowed me to keep, but none of that was the conflict. Not yet. Those were just background noises. The conflict started with a property, specifically my grandmother's house. My grandmother, June, lived in a small, creaky farmhouse about 15 minutes outside town. It was the kind of place that always smelled faintly like dust and cinnamon. There were framed photos on every surface and a porch swing that groaned like an old knee. When I was a kid, that house was where I felt most safe. Grandma June never cared if I tracked mud in. She made grilled cheese in cast iron and watched old game shows with the volume up too loud. She loved Ryan. She loved Alyssa. But she always had this special, gentle softness with me that made me feel like I wasn't competing for air. When she got sick, my mom and aunt took turns helping her. Ryan showed up for big gestures. Alyssa sent flowers. I visited on weekdays after work and fixed little things. Leaky faucets, loose steps, the latch on the screen door. In the last year of her life, Grandma June started saying things like, "I want you to have this place someday." I thought it was just old person talk. I'd laugh and say, "You're going to outlive us all." She didn't. Grandma June died in early spring. After the funeral, we did what families do, ate sandwiches on paper plates, and stood around in uncomfortable clusters, pretending we weren't calculating what grief meant financially. Ryan made a toast and cried at exactly the right moments. My mom leaned on him like he was the only pillar left in the world. I didn't think about the will until my mother called me a week later and said, "We need to talk about Grandma's house." Her tone had that brightness she uses when she's trying to sell you something. We met at my parents' dining table on a Sunday afternoon. The table was already set like it was Thanksgiving. Placemats, iced tea, napkins folded neatly. The TV was off. The air felt staged. Ryan was already there, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. Alyssa sat beside him, scrolling on her phone. Maya sat next to me, her posture straight, polite. My mom brought out a folder. My dad hovered by the coffee like he wanted to disappear into it. "Okay," my mom said, smiling too hard. "So, Grandma's house." I nodded. "Yeah." She slid the folder across the table toward me. "You should read this." Inside were documents, legal-looking forms, highlighted sections, sticky notes. I glanced at the first page and my stomach tightened. Quitclaim deed. "Why is this here?" I asked. Ryan cleared his throat like he was about to present a proposal at work. "It's simple, Ethan. We want to keep the house in the family." "It is in the family," I said. My mom's smile flickered. "Yes, but there are concerns." Maya's hand slid onto my thigh under the table, a quiet signal. "Breathe." "What concerns?" I asked. My mom looked at my dad, then at Ryan, then back at me. "Grandma left the house to you." I froze. "She did?" Ryan's mouth pressed into a line. Alyssa looked up from her phone for the first time. My dad murmured, "It was in the will." I felt a strange mix of grief and disbelief. I didn't know. My mom waved her hand like it was a technicality. "Well, now you do. And because she did that, we have to make sure the house doesn't leave us." I stared. "What do you mean?" Ryan leaned forward, elbows on the table. "If something happens, divorce, lawsuits, whatever, the house could be taken. It should be protected." Maya's fingers tightened slightly on my leg. My mom jumped in, voice sweet. "It's not personal, Maya. It's just smart." I looked at the forms again. "So, what is this?" "It's a plan," Ryan said. "You sign the deed over to Mom and Dad, and they'll hold it in a trust. Keeps it safe." "Safe from what?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. My mom's eyes did that thing where they narrow just enough to be warning. "Ethan, don't get defensive. We're trying to help you." Maya spoke softly. "Why wouldn't Ethan keep the house in his name if it was left to him?" Ryan answered without looking at her. "Because feelings aren't legal protection." That's when I saw it. This wasn't about protection. It was about control. I pushed the folder back. "No." The room went very quiet. My mom blinked like she hadn't heard me correctly. "Excuse me?" "I'm not signing that," I said. "Grandma left it to me." Ryan let out a small laugh. "She made a mistake. She wasn't thinking clearly." My jaw clenched. "Don't say that." My mom's tone hardened. "Ethan, don't be dramatic. This is normal. Families do this." Alyssa finally spoke. "It's just paperwork. Why make it a thing?" Because it was already a thing. Because the second I said no, I felt the entire family shift like a flock of birds turning in unison. Maya squeezed my hand now openly on the table. "We need time to read everything." My mom leaned forward. "Time? For what? It's straightforward." Ryan's eyes locked onto mine. "You've always been emotional about Grandma. This isn't about you. It's about the family." And there it was. Ryan's favorite word. Family. The word that meant, do what we want. I stood up, chair scraping. "We're leaving," my mom's voice snapped. "Sit down." I didn't. Maya stood with me, calm but pale. We walked out without taking the iced tea. On the drive home, Maya didn't speak for a full 5 minutes. Then she said quietly, "They think I'm a threat." I gripped the steering wheel. "They think anything they can't control is a threat." My phone buzzed at a stoplight. "Mom, we need to settle this. Don't be stubborn." Then another. "Ryan, you're making this harder than it has to be." And then, the one that stuck like a splinter. "Ryan, Grandma would be ashamed of how you're acting." The next week was like watching a slow-motion landslide. At first, it was subtle. My mom called every day with concern. "Are you sleeping?" she'd ask. "Are you eating? Is Maya okay?" Said like she hoped the answer was no. Then the messages started coming in from extended family. "Aunt Carla, heard you're having a hard time with Grandma's house. Call me." "Cousin Jenna, I know you're emotional, but don't blow up the family." No one asked what actually happened. They just assumed I was emotional, because that's the label my family uses whenever someone won't comply. Ryan called me after work on Thursday. "You really want to do this?" he asked. "Do what?" I said. "Turn this into a war." "I didn't," I said. "You guys did by putting papers in front of me." Ryan sighed like I was a burden. "It's for your own good." "No," I said. "It's for your good." His voice sharpened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you want the house," I said. "You want Mom and Dad to hold it so you can decide what happens." A beat of silence. Then Ryan laughed. "Jesus, Ethan. You hear yourself? Conspiracy theories?" I could almost see him smiling. "You know what the house is worth?" he continued. "It's an asset. It should be managed by someone responsible." I felt heat rise in my chest. "You mean you." "I mean not you," he said too quickly. "You get attached. You make decisions based on feelings." I remembered being 12, crying because a kid at school called me weird, and Ryan had told me, "Stop being so sensitive. Nobody likes that." It's wild how your body remembers old wounds. "Don't talk to me like I'm a child," I said. Ryan's tone went cold. "Then don't act like one." I hung up. That night, my dad called. He never calls unless it's serious. "Ethan," he said, voice tired, "can you just sign it?" My throat tightened. "Dad, you don't understand," he said. "Your mom is upset." I almost laughed. "So the solution is I give away the house Grandma left me?" "It's not giving away," he said. "It's just putting it somewhere safe." "Safe for who?" I asked. Silence. Then my dad said quietly, "Ryan's having a tough year." There it was. Ryan. Always the center. "What does that have to do with Grandma's house?" I asked. My dad exhaled. "He made some investments. He needs stability." My hands went numb around the phone. "So this is about money?" "No," my dad said too fast. "Not exactly." "It is," I said. "He wants to use the house as a safety net." My dad didn't deny it. I sat on the couch staring at the wall after the call ended. Maya sat beside me, her shoulder touching mine. "They're trying to transfer it because he needs it," she said, more statement than question. "Yes." Maya's face changed, something between anger and sadness. "So, they're stealing from you." I flinched at the word stealing, but it fit too well. The next Sunday, my mom sent a family group chat message. "Mom, family dinner, 5 p.m. Important. Everyone needs to be there." Maya stared at the message, then at me. "If we go, it's a trap." I knew that, but part of me still had this childish hope that if I showed up and explained calmly, they'd suddenly see reason. So we went. When we walked in, the smell of roast chicken hit me. The house felt normal, the same framed photos, the same crocheted throw blankets, but the air was thick. Ryan was there. Alyssa, my parents, and my Aunt Carla. I stopped in the entryway. "Why is Aunt Carla here?" My mom said. "She's family." Aunt Carla gave me a tight smile, like she was a mediator in a hostage negotiation. We sat at the table. My mom served food like nothing was wrong. Then, after 2 bites, she said, "We spoke to a lawyer." My stomach dropped. Ryan slid another folder across the table, thicker this time. "This," he said, "is the best way forward." Maya's jaw clenched. "We didn't agree to meet with a lawyer." Ryan shrugged. "You didn't need to. It's not your inheritance." The words hit the room like a slap. I looked at my mother, expecting her to correct him. She didn't. Instead, she said, "Ethan, I love you, but this is family property. Grandma didn't mean for it to go." Outside. Maya's cheeks flushed red. Outside? My mom's voice stayed sweet. You know what I mean. I felt like I couldn't breathe properly. She was my grandmother. And I was her daughter, my mom said sharper. I took care of her. I wanted to yell, so did I. But Ryan spoke first. Look, if you sign, everyone's happy. If I don't, what? I asked. Ryan's smile was small and cruel. Then we can test the will. My blood went cold. You can't, I said, but it came out weak. Aunt Carla cleared her throat. You can, if there are concerns about capacity. Maya stared at them, horrified. You're going to claim she wasn't mentally sound? My mom's eyes glistened with dramatic sadness. We don't want to, but you're leaving us no choice. I pushed my chair back slowly. This is disgusting. My dad finally spoke, voice low. Ethan, sit down. Don't do this. I looked at him. Do what? Defend myself? My mom's face hardened. If you don't sign today, don't bother coming to Christmas. That was the moment from the hook, the moment the family mask fell completely off. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a belt around my ribs. Maya stood, calm but trembling. We're leaving. My mom's eyes flashed. Maya, don't manipulate him. Maya didn't even look at her. She looked at me. I'm not staying in a room where they threaten you. Ryan leaned back, satisfied. There it is. She's turning you against us. Something in me snapped, not in a loud, cinematic way, in a quiet way, like a string breaking. I looked at Ryan and said slowly, You did this. Ryan's expression changed. Offense, then anger. I did what? I'm trying to protect the family. No, I said. You're trying to protect yourself. My mom slammed her hand on the table. Enough. Ethan, stop accusing your brother. I heard my own voice shake. Why is it always him? Silence. Alyssa stared at her plate like she could disappear. My dad looked down. And Ryan, for the first time, didn't have a smooth answer because they all knew the truth. We walked out. Behind us, my mother shouted, You'll regret this. In the car, Maya's hands were shaking. She sat there with her seatbelt on, staring straight ahead. I'm sorry, I said, voice cracking. She turned to me. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault, it's them. I nodded, but grief hit me in waves. Because I wasn't just losing a house, I was losing the illusion that my family loved me unconditionally. For days afterward, I couldn't sleep. I'd lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations like my brain was trying to find a version where I said the right thing and the outcome changed. My stomach hurt constantly, like I'd swallowed a rock. I'd go to work and pretend to care about deadlines, while my mind screamed, Your own mother threatened you. Sometimes I'd get angry. I'd imagine storming into my parents' house and yelling until they finally admitted it was about Ryan's money. Other times, I felt ashamed, like maybe I was selfish. Maybe I should sign. Maybe peace was worth it. But then I'd picture Grandma June sitting at her kitchen table, her hands spotted with age, telling me quietly, This place should go to someone who loves it. I could still smell her cinnamon, and I'd feel this protective grief rise in me, like giving the house away would be betraying her a second time. Maya tried to be steady, but I could see the stress in her eyes. She'd come home from work exhausted and still ask, Any new messages? Because the messages didn't stop. My mom sent long texts that started with love and ended with guilt. I don't know what I did to deserve a son who treats me like this. Ryan sent colder ones. You're choosing your wife over your blood. That's not how our family works. Alyssa stayed quiet until she didn't. One night she called me. Ethan, she whispered like she was afraid someone would hear. Why can't you sign it? It would make everything easier. I sat on the couch, phone pressed to my ear, and stared at Maya in the kitchen. Because it's not about ease, I said. It's about what's right. Alyssa's voice broke. Mom is crying every day. Then tell her to stop threatening me, I said. Alyssa sighed. You know Ryan needs help. There it was again. Ryan needs. Everyone else adjusts. I hung up and sat there shaking, not with rage, but with something like mourning. Because in that moment, I realized my role in the family wasn't son or brother. It was backup. On a Monday, I took the day off work and drove to Grandma June's house alone. The key still stuck in the lock the way it always did. The front door groaned when I opened it. Dust floated in the sunlight. I walked through the rooms slowly. The kitchen, the living room, the hallway where my height marks were still penciled on the wall from when I was 10. I sat at her table and let myself cry properly for the first time since the funeral. Not the polite funeral tears, the ugly ones. Then I pulled out my phone and called an attorney. A calm woman named Janice answered and explained, patiently, what my rights were. Yes, she said, the house is yours if the will is valid. And if they contest it? They can try, she said, but contesting a will isn't as simple as people think. It takes evidence. I stared at Grandma's curtains moving slightly in the draft. They're saying she wasn't mentally sound? Janice's voice softened. Did she have a diagnosis? No, I said. She was forgetful sometimes, but she knew what she wanted. Then they'll have a hard time, Janice said. But you need to act quickly. By the time I left the house, I felt strangely calm. Not happy, not relieved. Just clear. That night, Maya and I sat at our kitchen table. I don't want this to destroy you, she said quietly. It already has, I replied, but I won't let them take it. I decided to do 2 things. First, I filed to transfer the property into my name legally and locked down the paperwork. Second, I wrote my mother an email instead of texting because I needed my words to be solid. I said, I would not sign the deed. If they attempted to contest the will, all communication would go through attorneys. I loved them, but I would not be bullied. I hit send. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Her voicemail was half sobbing, half rage. You're doing this to us, after everything we've done? I deleted it, then Ryan texted. You're really going to sue your own family? I typed back once. I'm not suing you. I'm protecting what Grandma gave me. Stop contacting me. Then I blocked him. I blocked my mom too, for the first time in my life. When I did it, my hands shook. I felt like I'd committed a crime. Maya wrapped her arms around me and whispered, You're allowed to protect yourself. I didn't feel allowed, but I did it anyway. It's been 6 weeks. The will contest threat hasn't materialized yet, maybe because lawyers are expensive, maybe because they're bluffing. Maybe because Ryan realized the house wasn't the easy bailout he thought it would be. My mom hasn't spoken to me. Alyssa sent one message last week. I miss you. But Mom says you have to apologize. I stared at it for a long time. I typed, I miss you too. Then I deleted it. Because I miss you and my family always comes with a price tag. Maya and I went to Grandma June's house last weekend and cleaned out the pantry. We found tins of cookies that expired 3 years ago and a stack of handwritten recipe cards. Maya picked up one card and smiled through tears. She wrote like you. I laughed, but it came out like a cough. We sat on the porch swing and watched the sun go down over the field behind the house. The swing creaked, steady and familiar. And I thought about something Grandma once told me when I was a teenager and angry at Ryan for taking credit for something I did. She'd patted my hand and said, Some people don't know how to love without taking. I didn't understand back then. I do now. What I realized is this: my family wasn't close. They were tight, like a fist. And for years I mistook that tightness for love because I didn't know the difference. Love doesn't threaten holidays as punishment. Love doesn't demand you sign away what's yours to keep someone else comfortable. Love doesn't call you emotional when you refuse to be used. I don't know what Christmas will look like this year. Maybe quiet, maybe painful, maybe peaceful in a way I've never allowed myself to feel. But I know one thing for sure. The day my mother told me not to come to Christmas, She thought she was taking something away from me. What she didn't realize is that she was also giving me something back. My ability to choose,